Did what I don't like to do. I don't really like to get into a whole lot of critiquing of our people in an open forum where the enemy can see it. You know what I mean?
This right here was bad.
I try my best not to do that.
Yeah, but this was
I
bad.
try just to get.
This was bad. Cause I don't even really micromanage none of what's going on out there.
I try to because, you know what I'm saying? Because when you know what? When the worst of the worst come for theirs, they always, I don't know,
and look,
maybe.
But guess what?
Could have been.
Perhaps.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like that maintains a certain level of sanctity for their leaders, which allows them to still lead. And it discredits and undermines a lot of our leaders, which keeps them from being able to lead, which leaves our, I guess, generations to become with a lack of leadership.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? And one thing we know right now, we can't afford no more lack of leadership. So I just, you know what I mean? If I got something to say, I say it too. You know what I mean? Behind closed doors in a small room, and it just I don't want to let it be manipulated by the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I got you. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam, ala rasulillah, it's your brother Amir. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. Today I got a very special guest with me, somebody I've known for over 2 decades, and just watching over the years, all of his accomplishments, all of the accolades, and all of the multiple transitions that attribute to what real evolution, real success, and real growth is like. So without no further delay, man needs no introduction. My brother,
What's going on?
TPP, King of the South.
What's happening, Op?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's like I'm just, honored, to be able to have a conversation with someone that I know stand for the same moral principles, the same integrity, all of the things that were abundant, in our generation.
Required.
Definitely required. Definitely required. And there's a shortage of that, And I think that us as a people, as a community, these type of conversations attribute to a lot of information, a lot of, mannerism, characteristics, all these things that contribute to like what men should be, especially those who faced an abundance of adversity and how we overcome those things. So just briefly, let's give us a little roadmap, like the TIP journey.
I mean, bro, it's been a quest for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, patience, and it's been through the grace of God that I've been able to make it to a place and remain at a place while sustaining certain levels of success and abundance of blessings. It ain't 'cause I did something that was so, so remarkable. It's due to the grace of God and the blessings and forgiveness and the grace. You know what I mean? I'm just the instrument. I'm a conduit. You know what I'm saying? it was a lot of times I thought it was over as well. You know what I'm saying? And but for the grace of God that I made it through and been put in a position to help others make it through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think the only thing that's miraculous is that I didn't quit.
That part.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Because, the beautiful thing is, like, I've known you, in your humble beginnings. You never really changed at all. You know what I'm saying? You never really changed at all. You always been, the type of individual that was just always consistent. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, when I was growing up, I always judge or critique people by consistency. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't trust nobody, but I trust you to be you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense.
It does.
And it's like, you've always been, very, very consistent in who you are. But just to speak on, what you mentioned about, dealing with adversity, being patient.
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to that. My journey has been a mirror of yours. It's like we come from
Your
a
mirror
place.
stretches a little longer than mine.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's really difficult to measure pain.
Right.
Because, like, we have, a statement in the Quran where Allah mentions, Inna Allah la kalifullahu nafsan illa wasa'a. Allah does not place a burden upon a soul beyond a scope. You know what I'm saying? So what that means is we all have a certain capacity of what we can endure. And the faith part is knowing that your Creator is merciful. Right. That He wouldn't place anything on you that you couldn't handle.
Right.
So it might be a splinter for somebody. We might need to get stabbed to feel
that's right.
The same pain.
That makes sense.
So, like, what you've endured, what I've endured, and for us to be here
is a quantification of our abilities.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So, so I want to get right into it. So we kind of talked a little bit offline about this, but it's like, based on all of the things we've been through, and we've gotten to a level where, we're responsible for other lives. You know what I'm saying? We're the head of our households.
Sure.
A lot of people look to us for direction, for guidance. Some want to, take away, the more beneficial aspects of our journey and apply it to their own lives. And that's also a responsibility as well, to maintain, consistency in that, so that a person doesn't feel duped, when they're extracting some of the good from us. My thing is, coming from the streets, and living the lifestyle that comes with the streets, and everything that we held each other accountable to, based on this code that we forged, for the sanctity, or I guess just the foundation of what we were aspiring to be based upon the lifestyle that we chose.
Right.
Do we ever get to a point where we can actually be considered like citizens?
Yeah, I think, of course, it is at a point where I think that you can be a citizen, but just know that your citizenship is superseded by a creed. Should you still choose to reap the benefits of the benefits that lifestyle has to offer. I think, for instance, okay, let's say there's a citizen, but that citizen is also a Navy SEAL.
Okay.
You feel me? Yeah, that citizen is a citizen. But at the end of the day, he's a Navy SEAL first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so you're a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're still a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
But if all of the citizens eating bacon sandwiches,
I can't be that kind
the
of
fact
citizen.
that you're a citizen is not going to invite you to this bacon sandwich.
No
You're going to
question.
be a Muslim first.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
And
I
I
see where you're
feel
going.
it is the same way for, you know, the lifestyle in which you speak of. You can maintain your benefits and the spoils of citizenship. And if you pay taxes, you're a citizen.
You're a citizen, yeah,
You
absolutely.
make legitimate money, you pay taxes, you are a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you choose to step in the smaller rooms and be received the way you want to be received among your social circle or your peer group or assumed peer group, then you can't, because it's a lot more citizens than there are in the social circle.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is what you call a labyrinth, a subculture. You feel me? Citizenship is a broad culture. I mean, everybody in America who make money, pay taxes, born in America, they citizens. Within citizenship, there are subcultures. If you choose to be received and embraced within this subculture, then you have to put that first.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think that, like, for me, because I'm very invested in the youth, you know, and we talked about this a little bit before the show about, you know, leadership and the lack of leadership. And I think that is a lot of mixed messaging when it comes to what's the end game. You know what I'm saying? For some of us that come out of that environment, like, what's the end game?
Right.
Do we go out like Tony Montana? Or is there, you know, a place that we can get to where we can kind of like, you know, do away with the old baggage?
Well, first of all, we got to realize and understand that a lot of people who are out here speaking aren't thinking for themselves. You know, there's a manipulation of mass media that understands from our actions and our communications among one another. They understand what makes us, you know, tick and what makes us abandon our own. And I think to really get down to the nuance of it, and just to, you know, just to be frank about it, we talking about snitching or telling on somebody and so on and so forth. And we gotta, in order to understand why it is so painfully prevalent, and why is such an emotional attachment to it, you got to go back to where the police force was originated. That was to catch and kill slaves that were escaping from bondage.
Bondage, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, the first snitch was a motherfucker who told slave owners that their fellow brother was escaping
planning on
plantation
escaping, yeah.
and trying to find freedom. You know what I mean? So and trauma is passed down through DNA scientifically. So understanding where that disdain comes from, that helps you kind of understand why it is placed in such a high regard right now. But I think we got to step outside of how we feel about it and look at how the enemy has seen that we feel about it and how they have been able to manipulate it to their advantage to turn us against each other.
No.
Why is it that we are the only ones that have such a disdain And I'm not giving an opinion
Mm-hmm.
on like whether I feel like that's positive or negative. I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
Why is it that, if, just hypothetically speaking, white folk, like it's a group of white people got a RICO right now.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If any of them was to, do a proffer or was the, you dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Was to turn states evidence or
Yeah.
was the, as
It'd be justified.
as it says in the Fed, help they self.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If any of them were to do it, we wouldn't bat an eye. We wouldn't turn, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even if people of insignificance
Mm-hmm.
were to do it, in our culture, we don't pay no attention to it. Give you an example. I have been, placed in the position of, oh, this nigga told this nigga that. I don't know who the hell I could tell on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the top. A nigga told on me.
Yeah.
Now, because of my position, I'm in a position of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my position, I'm in a position that people kind of, look and say, oh, man, that's where I hope to find myself one day. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's the exact opposite of that. But either way, the person that told on me, they get no flack whatsoever. And it's on record. Everybody know who told on me in my case.
Yeah.
I ain't never heard their name. Ain't nobody that said, man, you fucked up because you told on Tip.
Yeah.
Nobody ever. They rather speculate on whether or not I told. Even though there's nobody I've ever told on. Nobody ever said, hey, man, Tip told on me about this. There's nothing. There's never been nothing. But the story still crescendos.
Mm-hmm.
But the person that you know for a fact told on me gets none of this repercussion. There's no negative, there's no downside for them. You feel me? And I think that is a manipulation of the circumstances that is taken advantage of by, dare I say, the enemy. You know what I mean? And I feel like they just want to kind of discredit, discount, and diminish the leadership in our community so they can have our way with this generation and the next and the next and the next to come.
So let's generalize that, right? For example, I think I gave you this scenario. So now we evolved to a point where we've left off that lifestyle. We left off everything that comes with that lifestyle.
Sure.
I'm an owner of a business.
Mm-hmm.
Something takes place where someone breaks into my business or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the old me, I'm sitting in the back of my business looking at the CCTV.
Right.
I'm looking at all the camera security footage and everything, and I'm going to try to go find my culprit. Right? I'm going to resort to the justice that I know from my previous life.
Mm-hmm. Retribution.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've evolved into another space, because everything I left behind was to accomplish this business.
Right.
So now in order to implement my insurance policy and all of the things that come with running the business, I have to file a police report.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So based on this stigma, and we just generalizing this because I think that, and I'm gonna expound on it past this point. In that particular moment, I've grown. I've grown from dealing with things, handling certain situations in a manner that's in accordance to the lifestyle that I came from.
Right.
Now I'm operating like any other citizen, right, in the country. So now, this stigma, and I think a lot of people have a real lack of understanding of what you mentioned as far as like telling. Now, where we come from is taboo,
Right.
no matter how you cut it. But I'll give you a story of some young kids. And
I think it's very important
Uh-huh.
to also establish the fact
Mhm.
that where we come from, most people don't own anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a fact.
Most people don't own anything. They don't have anything to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, there's nothing to protect.
Well, I mean, your life.
Well, when I mean no property.
Now I know what you're talking about, property.
No
I understand what
property,
you're saying.
You know what I mean? And that's the purpose. The purpose of policemen at its origin
Mm-hmm.
was to keep citizens safe
Mm-hmm.
and to protect citizens' property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sucks for us that we were the citizens' property and not the citizens at the time.
Yeah.
But today, we are both the citizens and the owners of property.
Our property, yeah.
You see
absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that change, you have to have a change of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And with that scenario that you gave, just as I answered it before,
Mm-hmm.
as a citizen, as a business owner, as a property owner, as the beneficiary of an insurance claim, you do have to file a police report.
Absolutely.
However, this is how I would deal with it. I'm the business owner.
Yeah.
I don't have to be the one
To actually do
to
it.
actually file the police report.
Yeah.
I have people that work for me. I have employees.
Mhm.
They can call the police. They give the facts and all that. And they could talk to the police and they could file the police report. Doesn't really have to have anything necessarily to do with me, my statements, and
Yeah, absolutely. But it's still an extension of how you handle your business. Even though if it's not a direct interaction, but it is an extension of how you run your business.
But telling and what you tell is also important.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? You can know exactly who broke in your establishment.
Mm-hmm.
And when the police get here, we don't know who it was. We ain't
Yeah,
seen
we don't know,
nobody.
yeah.
All we know, one that got busted. And
Now that's
here we
us
are.
holding on to what we know better.
Yes.
That's what we
Yes.
know best. It's not even so much about
I mean, but to be honest with you, man, it don't really make no difference whether they catch them or not.
yeah.
We
Got
don't care
insurance.
nothing about that.
Yeah.
All we care about is getting our insurance claim.
That's right.
You
That's
feel
right.
me?
I got you.
We not trying to solve crime.
Yeah.
We trying,
We're trying to run a
we
business.
trying to redeem our property.
Our property.
You see,
yeah,
feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I think, like what the purpose is important.
Yeah.
What the intention is.
Yeah, exactly. Because my thing is this, is like, I don't think that, and I'm speaking for myself first and foremost, and I try to take an initiative to actually clarify more, in-depth understanding of what it is that came with the lifestyle we chose. Because the way I see the youth today, like you said, you mentioned something about them only absorbing and trying to simulate things that they heard, been passed down, or read in some books, saw in a movie. They're not really attached to, the inevitable reason why many of us were left with no choices. We were left with minimal options. We were placed in a society where this was prevalent and widespread. So when you say trauma is passed down, right? Had we been raised in another environment, whatever trauma preceded us wouldn't reach us based on us being nurtured and cultivated in a whole nother fashion. The trauma is passed down by examples. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the examples...
I think now, when I say trauma is passed down through DNA, no, I'm telling you that your grandfather or great-grandfather's trauma that they experienced, whether they were beat by a policeman, whether they were double-crossed by who they thought was their best friend, whether, whatever they experienced that caused a traumatic experience in their life through their sperm, It's passed down through DNA is what I'm saying.
Okay.
The examples are also in addition to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about without, you cannot even have met this person.
Yeah.
And through their sperm, the DNA of their sperm, it will be passed down to their lineage. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand that. But like for me, I'm gonna be honest with you, like a lot of what people experience in the South versus what I was raised and I experienced in the North, it's totally different. Like most of my family from Richmond, Virginia, right? Now Richmond, Virginia, you know, once upon a time in the 80s.
They get busy.
Yeah, they get busy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And my family really was at the helm
Richmond,
of a lot of
Newport News, Virginia Beach. You know.
But it was the first time I ever seen anybody heightenedly acknowledge police. Like my cousins, but here come the man. And I'll be still the one standing there. Everybody done dispersed. I'm still standing there looking for the man. And it was the police that pulled up. Now, me coming from New York, it used to be different. We didn't have no respect for this type of stuff.
But guess what?
Tell me more.
It's so many people per capita in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You like it's almost, man. So you know how down south, if somebody did something and and they were running from the police, they run until they were gone. I'm talking about they would run until they were gone, until they could see the police.
Yeah, I was trying to envision that. Like, yo, how did you disappear?
Like, yeah, they would run until the threat, until they couldn't see the police and the police could see them. In New York, just imagine you run from the police till you hit Times Square. You hit Times Square, all them people, you just blend in with the people.
Yeah. Speaking of
so
that,
there's not as much need.
See, Harlem, like
to
for
disperse.
Harlem. Harlem, it was like we was just mad disrespectful. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like growing up as a kid, and that's why I would never trade my childhood for anything, because all of the life lessons I learned. Like for example, we have a lot of places in New York that have predominantly races. You know what I'm saying? But I grew up in Harlem when it was like DC, like Chocolate City. Like it was just all black. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You go up the hill. Got Puerto Ricans, Dominicans.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Up the hill, you talking about
Amsterdam, Broadway, or up there like.
Is that Bradhurst?
Bradhurst is it start blending. You know what I'm saying? It start blending because if you go up 45th Street, you had the Jamaicans right there on Bradhurst, right, Saint Nick, right. Then you start cutting that way where AZ and on was at on Saint Nick.
Which way is that?
That's going towards. That's going uptown from 145th and St. Nick, going uptown towards Branson.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, because I was a kid.
Yeah,
I was moving around in that area, and I didn't know. Like, so it was 155th St. Nick. That was my dad and my uncles and them. They owned
155th and 8th is where Polo Grounds and 8th Avenue.
All right. Well, now, these were like, I don't want to say brownstone, but they were like apartment building, maybe like 5-story apartment building.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about.
And they own one of those
brownstones.
Yeah, they had. Was it a brownstone if it's so many people that live in the apartments? It's still a brownstone?
Whoever owned the
I
building.
thought brownstone was a single family.
But they
Well,
3 stories.
No, I'm talking about something that's,
Or they tenement buildings.
yeah, maybe a
Tenement
tenement
buildings,
building.
yeah.
Okay. And then they had a little basement where they, you know what I'm saying, had some,
With a super live.
And it was, if you come out the building, bust a right, you go to another avenue, and it's a park right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
the area
where,
you was at.
Yeah, but okay, let's say you run to the park, bust a left. It's another avenue that runs up a hill.
Mm-hmm.
You take that right, go up that hill, get to the main avenue up there, bust a right,
Mm-hmm.
and my daddy had a little candy store right there, a small little candy store, you know what I'm saying, where they sold, you know, at least they called it the candy store, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They sold a bunch of candy and shit. I was 5, 6 years old, you know, but you know, so I grew up in that area. At least in the summertime, you know, and I remember hearing about a lot of stuff. I got a cousin named Tony.
Okay.
And Tony, you know Kurt, Rashida?
Yeah.
All right, so
Kurt
Tony
Frost,
and Kurt was best friends.
Okay.
And they used to move around together.
Okay.
Tony was like 16, 17 years old. And I remember Tony coming to my pop. My pop was an old head, you know what I mean? He had to been like.
It's crazy that you sitting up here telling a Harlem story. Like people don't even know that. Like people don't even know that about you. I had a reunion at my school, PS 84, and it was like, Tip used to go. Tip went to that school. I said,
I went to summer camp for a couple of days and stuff. I used to cut summer camp. I hated it.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, why would I get out of school, come up here and go back to school? I ain't understand it.
Yeah.
So I used to ditch summer camp and go play manhunt in Central Park.
Yeah.
You know, but
that's crazy, yo.
but
this is wild, yo.
PS 84. That's where I learned I couldn't play basketball. It just wasn't my thing, you know. Also, it was
They played a lot of softball though. It was a lot of Spanish kids in that area.
It was a lot of Spanish kids. Most of my friends were Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. Yeah. I was probably one of the only black kids. Like, but you know, I knew some dark skinned Dominicans. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I was probably one of the only black kids. But they taught me how to play stoop ball, hot peas and butter. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny, y'all.
Man,
see, that's the thing.
Go to the museum on 86th Street. Is it 86?
The Museum of Natural History is on 70. I think it's 70.
Was it that far down?
Yeah, it was like on 78.
So we used to go to the museum and play manhunt in the museum.
Museum of Natural History.
And oh man, I just had.
But see, that's the thing. You talking about a childhood that don't exist in the South. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And this is what I was trying to allude to is like when it came to racism and things like that, we wasn't plagued by that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
we wasn't either, no.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying the narrative. I mean, we is more stronger.
We felt it lightly. You know what I'm saying? Like if it'll be a white teacher that dealt with us a little bit differently than they would have dealt with a white student. It wasn't no
straight more prejudice.
Somebody calling us a nigga to our face type shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't that.
Yeah, cause see, that's the thing with me. Like I grew up.
I'm gonna tell you first time I felt racism.
Okay.
I think I was in pre-K, kindergarten, something like that, and I went to this school, and there were white kids in the school. Mm-hmm. It was this girl, her name was Elizabeth. We was in the same class.
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Elizabeth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We looked at each other from time to time. You feel me? And so okay, so you know how they roll the TV out. You watch movies,
school.
Right? You cut the lights off, you watch movie. And we sitting there Indian style.
Yeah.
Watching movie. I remember I was sitting behind Elizabeth. Elizabeth leaned back in my lap while I was sitting Indian style. That's the first time I felt my You know what I'm saying? That was the first time I remember feeling, excuse me, sorry, Elizabeth. Listen, okay, so. Okay. That was the first time I can recall feeling, that I had something down there. And then I started to like Elizabeth. And you remember
naturally?
I started to like Elizabeth. I didn't know anything about color or race or anything else.
Yeah.
I just know I felt something that I had never felt before.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why I felt it. And I liked that. And I had the book fair.
Yeah, the book fair.
Yeah, so I always used to have money and stuff, look, and I bought Elizabeth a book. I bought Elizabeth a book.
That's crazy.
And Elizabeth smiled, and she was she liked that I bought her the book. And so I go home, and I remember my mama answering the phone, having a conversation. And I remember the conversation ended with, well, fuck you, and hung up, right? And so she come to me and said, hey, you bought some little girl some book in there in school today? I say, I thought I was in trouble. I was like, I didn't want to say yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just thought it was like I did something wrong. And I was like, kind of. She's like, well, her mama called here and said, she can't accept nothing from you, your black ass. I'm like, black ass? Well, what the
Yeah.
And I just didn't, and then I went back to school. Elizabeth never looked at me, never talked to me, and nothing no more.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
That was my first experience with racism. You know what I mean? It wasn't blatant, but I kind of felt like something up.
Yeah.
Like before, we were cool, and then this happened. Then my mama came at me, and I get back to school, Elizabeth tripping.
Everything changed.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, everything
so
changed.
That's kind of how racism presented itself to me.
See, me, I never really I get on the train in the morning, even going to PS 84. I went to school by myself. I lived all the way uptown. I got kicked out of all the schools in my zone, so I ended up having to go to school downtown. But getting on the 3 train at 148th Street and ride all the way to 110th Street, I could lay across a whole seat. Because it's like very few black people, you know what I'm saying, like abundantly going to work.
Right.
This is the morning.
Right.
If we ride the train, it's more like at nighttime to do something other than work. But in the morning, it's like the train has bunch of seats. As soon as you get to 96th Street, white people come in droves. You know what I'm saying? Standing over you, everybody sitting there popping in New York Times. That's how I even knew the difference between the newspapers we read. Because everybody that rode the train from Harlem going downtown, they read the Daily News.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Post.
Or the Post. As soon as you get to 96th Street, the white folks reading Wall Street Journal
and the New York
Times. You know what I'm saying? So it's like growing up in New York, even like when the police used to roll up on us.
But to be cognizant of that as a youngster, that speaks to your level of intellect or what you have retained. You know what I'm saying?
I really paid attention.
Because it's easy to become oblivious to these things.
Absolutely. And I think that just New York in general keeps you on point. It's just like you said, there's so much going on that you can't be oblivious.
Right.
Unless you really have some type of...
You got to work just as hard to be stupid as you do to be smart.
Exactly. That's a fact, yo. That's a fact. Because you can't have no cognitive deficiency and all of that.
Right.
It function in New York.
Right.
So, like I said, like in our neighborhood, police would come. It'd be funny, like, we could be on a corner smoking. Police would come through, like, yo, man, put that out. Get off the block. We live here. I even tell somebody get off their block. You know what I'm saying? Or put that out. We like, man, like, y'all always coming around. Like,
put what out?
It wasn't never like no urgency. It was just like, yo, man, like, y'all always.
But you knew why? But you know why?
Because it was different community then.
Yes.
Different community.
And by the time they get out their car, they done lost enough foot chases.
Oh, yeah. They already know better.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, we know better.
By the time they got to put it in park, they gotta make 3 or 4 moves.
Yeah.
And plus y'all already at a distance.
Oh, we already
So
there. Listen,
they had
we
a
waiting
little,
for it.
yeah.
That's the cardio for the day. Like
But
when
I'm
they
gonna tell you
get
something
out,
about us.
that is cardio for the day.
I'm gonna tell you something about us. We have a unit. It was a unit. It's notorious in Atlanta. You can Google it right now. Called the Red Dogs.
Okay.
Red Dog Unit. It was a gang. Well, not a gang. It was a drug dealer task force.
That's a gang.
Well, they were a gang, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about they weren't to find gangs.
Yeah, I
They
don't
were to
think
find
taxpayers
drug
had anything to
dealers.
do with the naming of this unit.
Red Dogs.
Okay. Yeah, that's a gang.
All right. So, Red Dogs, first of all, they ride on Tuesdays and Thursdays mostly.
Okay. That was like TNT.
And they not talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
They riding, and when they pulling up on you, they got the doors open already.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You motherfucker, you can tell they ready to hop out.
Yeah.
Cause they not, hey, what you doing? They they go and getting out and running.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some of the, I think they targeted motherfuckers who they had to have a combine or something. You know what I'm saying? Cause these motherfuckers was the fastest motherfuckers. It was a motherfucker named Reebok. Man, that motherfucker was so fast, man. And when they catch you, they beat you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, and that unit, you know what I'm saying, it was dissolved later on just because of the findings of the shit that was going on within the unit of the Red Dogs.
Yeah.
But like that's that's the different.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers they wasn't, hey man, put that out. They goddamn they hopping out and getting after you. And they were closing the gap. You know, they weren't finna holler at you from here to the corner. They finna get right up on your ass and hop out and get you down.
Yeah. So, based on all these experiences, because it's like I could do this with you all day. So in contrast, it's like when I look at the state of the youth today, and, we were young. You know what I'm saying? Our time, we were young, we were mischievous. You know what I'm saying? We came from a community that had a different operating system, a different sense of governance within the community. Every kid didn't just belong to their parents, they belonged to every parent in the community.
They belong to the community.
They belong to the community.
Sure.
And it's like now when you look at the youth today,
I don't think we were as mischievous as we was inquisitive.
well, I think
We
it was
wanted
really
to
more
know.
experimental. Like we were just trying to find ourselves. We
wanted
was
to
trying
know.
to like you said with Elizabeth. You discovered something that day. You know what I'm saying? It happened organically.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you were actually exploring and learning things. Like just your whole description in New York was like you was a sponge at 5, 6 years old. So was I. Like, I was hustling. I got out the porch at 8. You know what I'm saying? Like I done broke down in another post like the whole hustle of an 8-year-old consisted of.
What was your first hustle?
My first hustle was probably packing bags in the supermarket.
Mine was selling candy.
I did some of that too.
Well, wait a minute. Before I sold candy,
you was selling your daddy candy.
I rate no. That's the thing. My pop never let me in on what he had going on. Like he ran numbers and did all kinds of other stuff. He never ever spoke to me about anything.
Most businesses back then were fronts. You know what I'm saying? Most businesses out there
never
were fronts.
let me know what was going on.
Yeah.
I was sheltered and shielded from all of that activity. But I raked a couple leaves, man, and I cut probably one yard, and I see how much time went into that. It's labor shit. It's not for me. Can't do that. Nigga, I'm talking about pushing this shit, and I'm like, man, and that motherfucker gave me $10.
Yeah.
I said, nah, I can't do this.
See, while I was just packing bags in the supermarket, I had a paper route on Sunday. I used to wash cars. I was extorting a couple of kids in school. I used to sell all their G.I. Joes at the train station. I also used to bag up for my cousin. Or I just play lookout on the block, do an 8-hour shift.
What age was this?
Just talking about, man, you talking about 84, 85.
So what age were you?
Oh, To my 9
Okay.
years old,
So
10 years old.
at this time, I got to see a lot of things, but I never had an opportunity to become involved with it. I never had any older people in my family that would say, hey, come here, let me show you how you do this.
Yeah.
Hey, man, look, this is what we're doing here. Become a part of this. Never. I started selling candy because when I left my pops, so I spent from 5 to probably 15, I spent every summer in New York. Mm-hmm. And every time I left New York, my pops would send me back with some spending money, usually about $100, $250, something like that. And I get back, and the first year, my mama said, let me hold that money for you. And I went for it. It was a long year. I learned a valuable lesson. I learned a $250,000 lesson.
Yeah, that was a wasted summer.
You dig what I'm saying? Okay, so every other summer after that, I knew, first of all, my mama gonna ask me for something. So I gotta have something to give her, keep her out my business.
Yeah.
And now I gotta take the rest of this and stretch it until I see my daddy again, which is usually Christmas. So from September to December, I had to figure something out. So I noticed that every hood got a candy lady. You know what I mean? But I go to the bus stop, and it was people, man, I ain't even get the chance to hit the candy lady. She wasn't up yet, didn't answer the door for me. Motherfucker want a candy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Light bulb went off.
My grandmama used to drag me to what we called Sam's Warehouse. It's basically Costco. And she'd drag me in there, man, while she running around shopping, buying all this shit. So while she was shopping one day, I had this paper. I went and got me some wholesale, Snickers wholesale, 9-laters wholesale, and I spent probably about $40. My goal was to make $20 a day, which was $100 a week, $400 a month, and that would keep me going from September to December.
You see it fall.
You feel me?
That's that.
So that was, so from 3rd grade to 6th grade, that's what I did. That was my thing. And, and I kept me some paper. I ain't have to ask nobody for no sneaker. I ain't have to ask nobody for, you know what I mean? I always had me a little paper, man. So much to the point where my aunts and certain people would come ask me to borrow money, at times. I never got the money back, but I had it, So I established myself early as a businessman. I understood profit and loss. I understood you buy it for this, don't buy it for this if you can't sell it for that. I understood that early. Then in 6th grade, I moved from my grandmama's house to my mama got a Section 8 voucher, and now me and my mama was staying in some apartments, just me and her. And I'm going to school from my mama's house, walking to the bus stop, and I see a young nigga, older than me, but still a young nigga, like on some 14, 15, 16, and I'm like 12, and I see him out there, and he's standing out there. He don't ride my bus, but he's standing out there by my bus stop. And I'm like, and I throw the football around with him, so I knew who he was. Like, man, what's up, man? What you doing out here? What's up? What's going on? And he like, man, shit, I'm out here working. I'm out here hustling, whatever the term was at the time. And I'm like, what that mean? So he pulled some dope out of his pocket, some crack. He was like, man, selling this. I'm like, what's that? Like, man, it's hard, or whatever he called it. He said, man, you buy it like this, and you kill it like that, and you sell them for this. And I'm like, oh, okay, like the candy. You feel me?
Yeah.
Okay, you buy low, you got them profit off of it, and so then the margins were much better than my candy margins.
Yeah, no
you
question.
Know what I'm saying? Because I spend $40 on some candy to make 200. It's gonna take at least 2 weeks or a week and a half, however long it take me. This shit, I could spend 40 and make 100 in a day. Okay, so that means if I get 100, then I could spend 100 and make 220 in 2 days.
Yeah.
I could make money much faster selling this than I can selling candy. That's what got me out the candy business in the dope business. And so as a youngster, that's you know, that how I played it. And it wasn't really that I wanted to be no drug dealer.
Yeah.
I
You was
never
you was
had
on the
nobody.
numbers.
Yeah, it
You was
was
playing the numbers
guy.
game. Yeah, you was
you
playing
know
the
what I
numbers
mean?
game.
Now, no, my uncle was doing time in prison. My other uncle was running because they was still looking for him. And other people who were around me, who were friends of my uncles, would never, ever, ever talk to me about that shit because of their respect for my uncle.
Yeah.
So I was always just out here
Figuring
figuring it
things
out on my own.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So niggas who had older cousins and older uncles and shit that put them on, they had an advantage because I had figured all this shit out from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that's so crazy about.
But they thought, they figured that they were doing the best for me, which they probably did, you know. But at the same time, I just never reaped the benefit of a certain level of understanding. You know what I mean? It was all about the money and not much about the principle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't much about the consciousness or the energy. I ain't learned about like energy and how that shit carries on with you or karma, or I ain't learned about that shit till I went to prison.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, as much as they, you know, did their best to give me, to shield and protect me from one thing, they also kind of kept me blind to other things.
So when you look at this generation, right, what do you think is more consistent with their story, how they figuring things out?
I would be shooting in the dark if I said that. I mean, I can't tell anyone else about their experience. I would be better served if I was to ask them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to guess or be presumptuous.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It's so much information and misinformation.
Yeah.
from
I
so
mean, I
many
think
different
a lot of
directions.
them definitely come from some similarities of our background. But I think that the influences have changed and they vary. You know what I'm saying? Like with us, like you said, you were playing a numbers game.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You were being shielded from what was really going on. You know, but you still was able to extract something that you could use
Got
as
to
a
have some
means
money.
to get a couple
You a
dollars,
man,
right?
you got to have some money. Keep some money. That's
Yeah.
the first thing my daddy ever taught me.
Yeah.
You a man, you got to take care of the women in your family. You got to take care of your mom. You got to have some money.
Yeah.
Period. If
Yeah.
you ain't taking care of your mama, you ain't taking care of the women in your family, you ain't got no money, you ain't no man.
Wow.
I learned that 5 years old.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing, because it's like, you know, as a parent, you know, we both got children. You know, my oldest is 31, 29.
My oldest is 27.
Yeah, I got maybe 4 adult children.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, you know what I'm saying, I feel blessed that they didn't catch this wave of this generation. A lot of the things that's been instilled in them is the things that came with me. You know, so when I look at state of the youth, I travel a lot, I speak to them, and it's like peer pressure is way more prevalent than it was when we were growing up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because generally, we as peers, we all had the same objective, right? To get a couple dollars. And we all went on
All of us didn't.
Well, I mean, the majority.
I don't remember nobody else who was as adamant about getting money as I was. I was tenacious. I think it's because I had a juxtaposition. Like my mama was on Section 8 food stamp welfare. You know, I lived in the hood and ghetto down here. But when I go to New York, my daddy got every soda it is to have, all the channels on cable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't want for nothing when I went up there. So I'm like, man.
That's why I think, see, my perspective comes from up there. You know what I'm saying? So me growing up, we all was exposed to, you know, the dudes that ran the 70s. Our peers, when you look at, you know, Paid in Full and all that, the Rich,
Yeah.
the Poles, you know what I'm saying, Fritz, all of the dudes we grew up watching get money.
Sure.
They were all teenagers. People don't even realize,
Yeah.
like, when you're
Like I
looking
told
at
you, my
Paid in
cousin
Full,
Tony.
yeah, when you're looking at Paid in Full, you're looking at guys 15 years old. Like,
I believe
you know
my
what
cousin Tony died somewhere in there with some of that. I don't know
Yeah.
who, why, what side,
Yeah.
you know. But my cousin Tony, man, coolest cousin I had. Really the only other boy cousin that I had that I could see and, like, you know, look up to. And man, I remember my cousin Tony, cool as hell, bro. He came to my pop's house. You know, he came in the apartment, they sat down, they were talking. And, you know, I remember my pop like, man, look, you know, I just, like, body language, like, man, bro, you need, you know, like, basically, chill out, calm down, da-da-da-da. Then same summer, I remember my cousin pulling up one of them red BMWs, you know what I'm saying, at the candy store. Came in, he hollered at me. I'm outside playing, bushing around, a little kid. Came in, slapped five with me. We played a little bit. He walk in, talked to my dad and my uncles again. He left, and he never seen Tony no more. He got killed. He got killed by he say by a best friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do know that my cousin Tony, I found out later, my cousin Tony and Kurt. You know
Was
what
close.
I'm saying? They were the best partners.
Yeah.
They were best partners, and, you know, they you know, they were running around together.
Small
So
world.
you know, and and as I see these stories and hear these stories, I always think about him. Like, well, I wonder where Tony was during this time. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that was still like a real partner, man.
So just to bring it all the way back home, right? All the things that inspired us, that set the foundation for our ambition and all of the things that we chased in life.
Mm-hmm.
So to come full circle with my previous question, is like, what messaging do you think should be put out there for the youth that's making their bones? They out there carving their lane in life and chasing pretty much the same things we were chasing when we were young, but we were fortunate to survive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, success to me is surviving, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to you looking at, you know, all the things that transpire in the street. When I go back to Harlem now, it's not so much about all the gentrification and how beautiful Harlem look now. It's just seeing those that remain and those that survive.
To me,
You know what I'm saying?
when you talk about success,
I'm
when
talking-
you say
yeah.
success is surviving, I feel like success is sustaining. Success is longevity.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Because we've seen a lot. Cats when we was, you know, young doing our thing, and they were having it way more than we were having it.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as time carried on, all of those material spoils that they reap the benefit of, they subsided.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as those spoils subsided, ours began to accumulate. You feel me? And we're not just talking about material, we're talking about mental, emotional, character. You know what I mean? And the same cats who had it then, when we go and see them again in our mid-20s, early 30s, mid-40s, like, that ain't, that ain't, they surviving, but you can hardly count it as success.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, but their story was definitely repetitive. 5-year run, 5 cars, driving a 5-mile radius, end up getting 55 years. You know what I'm saying? It's funny now, but the reality of it is that's really was.
Nah, boy. They say y'all Harlem
Hey,
nigga
look.
pop it, boy. They
And
say y'all Harlem
I'm
nigga
just
pop
saying,
it, man.
that's the numbers game for you, you know? But that's what I'm saying is like, I'm just at a point in my life that's why survival it's so meaningful to me. Because that story, you know what I'm saying, is what we used to hold as the barometer set to achieving in that game.
Sure.
So when I see like us being fortunate to find out, to be able to establish all the things we established in our careers, in our personal life, our business, and all these type of things, it's like that has to count for something. It has to be acknowledged that even, you know, sustainability has its virtue, but the escape, you know what I'm saying, the escape really takes precedence. And remaining free once you escape is a part of sustainability.
Well, free where? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Well, the harsh reality is the
Because
first.
some people are free physically, but they trapped.
That's a fact.
In
That's
other,
a fact.
In other capacities.
That's a fact. But looking at the harsh reality in in the environments that we come from, to be able to have some variation of, you know, what could be, that's an accomplishment.
Aspiration.
And I think that we don't give enough, you know, we don't highlight these things enough, you know what I'm saying? And
now, you asked me something because you said something about what message could be conveyed to the youth. I would say, if I could say anything, I would say, bruh, you gonna use your energy every day to do something. You know what I'm saying? You gonna wake up. You can't just wake up and stand still all day. So the energy that you muster up, that God blesses you with, your ability is gonna lead you down a path of doing something. Understand that what that energy produces is valuable, and you have to be conscious and intentional about what that energy produces. You know what I mean? Whether that energy produces something that's going to be valuable later on, or that energy produces something that's going to be valuable now. You just got to understand that is, nobody's broke, nobody's poor, because that energy is valuable. You feel me? And use that energy to chase a vision, not just the money. You know what I mean? Chase a vision, bro. You chase a vision, the money gonna come. Example, niggas like me, I use my energy to chase the money, the dope. You know what I mean? When I was selling dope, I was just chasing the money. I had no vision. I had no long-term goals in selling dope. I was just doing that until I could do what I really love, which was my vision, which was music. You know what I mean? That's why I wasn't really I wasn't the best drug dealer, you know. I sold drugs with the best on. I don't think I was the best on them, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I give you an example, right? I remember, man, back when I was probably about 15, left the house. I had done left the house, you know what I'm saying? And I had done, I bought me a half ounce, and then I got fronted a half ounce on top of that. So I probably had about $1,000 worth of dope. You know what I'm saying? Maybe $1,200 worth of dope. And I was hungry as hell. Couldn't go home and eat. Out here, if I don't sell no dope, I'm not eating. You feel me? I've been standing at the motherfucker all day. And I was so little and had such a baby face, they used to walk right past me. None of them would fuck with me, you know what I'm saying? And finally, I remember McDonald's was about to close. Finally, motherfucker come up. Motherfucker say, man, you got something? I said, yeah, what you need? Man, give me 3. I ain't got but 25 though. Bet. Come on. He gave me that $25. I gave me 3 dimes. He went on, Man, I went and bought me goddamn 2 cheeseburgers from McDonald's. And then bought me a dime of weed. And a motherfucking El Redondo that we was smoking at the time. I took my ass on in. You hear what I'm saying? Now, a good drug dealer would have stayed outside and sold the rest of that dope. You hear what I'm saying? I wasn't shit, man. I wasn't shit. So chase the vision, man. Don't chase the money, man. You know what I mean? That's the best shit I could tell them.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I definitely would tell the youth today to build a firm foundation. You know, you can't build a house from the top.
How they know what a firm foundation look like, feel like, sound like, supposed to be like?
Well, for me, it took me to become 33 years old to find out what a real firm foundation was. And that was understanding my true purpose in life. You know, Allah says in the Quran, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create the jinn or men except that they worship me. So the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in between, he created us all with the same purpose.
Right.
Because if he's the facilitator of all of our affairs, it's his divine wisdom, his decree, all of the things that account for anything that transpires in any of our lives, then he should be the only one that's worshipped.
Right.
Understanding that is your purpose. Because I think a lot of the kids have a misconception with their purposes. So, for example, if you run fast, you may think your purpose is to run track. You break your legs. We don't have a purpose no more. You got to still have a purpose.
Well, see, a lot of us don't either we don't realize or we don't want to accept. Everyone has a place and a purpose. However, what you feel your purpose is, what you feel your place is, might not be in alignment with what the higher power has for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
I mean,
some people could, like you say, run fast, break their leg, can't run no more. But you were meant to be an example. You were meant to be an example. You was to show this person how they can run
still
fast
have a purpose, yeah.
and not break their leg.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? And a lot of us don't want to accept that. A lot of us don't. We want to force our will upon the will of the greater good of the universe and the higher power. And I think that we got to be accepting, and we must. Life is a series of adjustments.
absolutely.
Life is a series of. There's gonna be a lot of ways you want stuff to go, and it ain't gonna always work out that way.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? When it don't work out that way, you pivot.
Absolutely.
You learn, you grow, you evolve. You know what I mean? Elevate your consciousness, your perspective, and you figure out how you can make the best of what you have before you, and not try to force what you feel should be.
But you mentioned it yourself. You acknowledged several times that had it not been for the grace of God, had it not been. So that means you understand
I do.
that
It's not me.
not a single accomplishment, you know what I'm saying, has taken place in your life only by the will
Yes.
of the one who created
Absolutely.
everything, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a foundation. So for me,
It took me a while to get there, though.
I just told you it took me to be 33. It took me to be 33. You know what I'm saying? Because everything I was living by, everything that I was chasing, all my aspirations, all my dreams, all my vision, everything that you mentioned, we all on that same journey.
Yeah.
And I think we all get to a fork in the road, or we reach some adverse situation where we start to really look a little bit more deeper, pull over and park for a minute and take a minute to actually see.
Yeah.
Because it's something I noticed with, we had a brief discussion about NBA YoungBoy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about him, but I seen a clip where, he had actually mentioned that he got to a certain point and he started to reflect
Mm-hmm.
on everything that came with it,
Right.
what he contributed
Right.
to some of the detriment, you know what I'm saying? And it's not saying that he's responsible, because his life and what he, evolved from got him to a place where he was able to come up for air and look back and say, you know what? I might have been operating off of sheer pain. I might have
However,
been.
the grace of God is what allowed him to get to that point.
And that's what I'm saying. Now, it takes a certain individual to actually say that without the intention of trying to impose or force a belief,
Mm-hmm.
but just to actually acknowledge, like, listen, this is not something foreign that I'm saying.
Yeah.
We all come to this point. Some of us wait till we shot. Some of us wait till we broke. Some of us wait till we slumped over a toilet and we say, oh, God, if you get me past this night, I won't drink no more. We all find a way.
Or wait till we get hit with them 120 months.
Exactly. We all wait, because you know what, and I'm going to expound on that. For us, it's called your fitra. Your fitra is your natural disposition.
Mm.
We created to know that there's a creator. If no one never taught you anything, right? Why you think instinctively when we think about God, the first thing we do is look up? The first thing you do is look up.
Now, the thing is, I think that's what we are taught.
No, but that's what I'm trying to say. And for
I don't
example,
believe God is in the sky.
I believe he's above all his creation.
I believe above is not necessarily physically above. I believe above is above in your level of consciousness and your level of thinking and the way that you perceive things in the universe to be.
So why would we call him the Most High?
I mean, I think it's most high in our consciousness, the most high in our thoughts, the most high in our perception. You know what I'm saying? As in above all other things that we may think or consider.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And when I say above, I mean at the top of the list, not necessarily at the top of, you know what I
Well,
mean?
instinctively, that's where you go.
Because guess what, though? We don't know, because, you know what I'm saying, God is so divine that we might not go up or down. We might go through. You feel me? There
Okay.
may be dimensions and the same. We go through something. You feel me? Well, they didn't say us. The Bible said Jesus ascended up, but they say walk to a light.
Mm-hmm.
To.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Which seems like a parallel transition.
Okay.
Not necessarily I floated up to a light. So, and I believe in different dimensions. And I believe that, there are parallel dimensions where all of us have other versions of ourselves that exist. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe that there's another parallel universe where each of us in this room exists. And the decisions that we made in this life, the exact opposite decisions is what is being played out in that life. But that's just my little belief.
Yeah, I understand. That's why this is called the perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like no one can sit in this conversation and have a perspective that sometimes mesh, sometimes may not agree, sometimes may agree partially. You know what I'm saying? Whatever case may be, that's the whole purpose.
But you don't have to immediately agree with anything.
Absolutely.
Like, if you immediately agree with something, then that means you already thought it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Or it wasn't really much to agree with. Your thoughts must be challenged in order for you to evolve. In order for any of us to evolve, what we already perceive to be true must be challenged. In order for us to truly become convicted in what we believe, or understand that there is a different belief that deserves our attention.
There's another statement in the Quran where Allah says, "Huwa alladhi khalaqa min samawati wal ard fi sittati ayamin thumma istawa ala al-arsh." It is He who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then rose above His throne in a manner that befits His majesty. Meaning, we don't try to explain how. If Allah tells us He's above His throne, We just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like if, you have someone in your life that you trust to the fullest extent that if they told you it's cold outside, you're going to go get your mink. You're not going to question it. You're not going to say how cold. Is the wind blowing 35? What's the wind chill factor? Like, if someone say, hey, it's cold, you're going to automatically, based on your trust in this person, we're using a person as an example, that I'm going to just go get my warmest coat because I know this is a person that's known to be truthful.
I think there's a limit to that.
Oh, there's always, with a person.
There's a limit to that. Because, us as parents,
yeah,
we receive and expect that from our children.
Mm-hmm.
But we understand that there's a rite of passage where the best of them,
Mm-hmm.
once we tell them something, they challenge us to make us even reconsider what we have told them. That makes us better parents in the process. You feel what I'm saying? So,
I understand.
I do get the concept of it.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a limit to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's definitely been amazing.
We can do this all
all
night.
day. I already know. Because look, it's crazy because really this is just us catching up. This ain't even so much about...
Man, when the last time we seen each other? I'm trying to think the last time I seen you before you took off on your sabbatical. Cause you
Yeah.
Cause it was like we were running real. I saw you all the time in the club life, and then what I'm saying, in our circles.
I'm gonna tell you a story I never told nobody really. I seen you one time. I think it was in the parking lot of Strokers. It was you, Tiny, and it was somebody else with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was woofing. I ain't never had a beard. I was woofing. I was going through a few things. You know what I'm saying, that had transpired. And I was just at a rough patch. And I remember I was talking to you, and it was somebody that was with you. He kind of intervened, and I kind of reacted. He was like, bro, that ain't you, man. You changed. And I looked at you, I was mad. I was like, what you mean I changed? You know what I'm saying? But I always reflected on that moment later, and I said, you know what? Me and bro always saw eye to eye. Whatever he saw at that moment, I couldn't see. But later on, I understood that you was only acknowledging that the person that you always knew in that very moment
Right.
probably wasn't present.
Right.
And
that was probably because you were being impacted by your circumstances.
I definitely was being impacted. I was absolutely.
Because you knew some shit that was going on. I had no idea.
But it was it never got, we never had a rocky moment. But it was whoever was with you, I never forget, because it's it wasn't his place to kind of and it was just what? And it's I remember because you, Tiny, everybody was just Loon?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's
I've always been the cool
yeah,
cat,
that's what
man.
I'm saying. But you caught me at a vulnerable moment. And, I ain't, know if you remember, because you just walked past a bunch of young kids and said what's up. You don't even remember that. That was just
I don't remember. I don't know.
But I never shared that story with anybody. And it's I always held that dear, because it's that told me that you and I genuinely saw each other a certain way, and we held each other to that standard.
Right on.
And at that very moment, that was the prerequisite to who I am today.
That's what's up.
Yep.
Love.